The courtroom doors swing open, and walking out with a confidence nobody saw coming is Alana Thompson, better known to millions as Honey Boo Boo. But the woman emerging from this legal battle is someone the world never expected to see. At just 21 years old, she's making a move that will completely redefine her legacy and potentially shift the entire conversation about child stardom in America. What happened inside that courtroom will shock you. For over a decade, we've watched this Georgia firecracker grow up in the most public way imaginable. From pageant stages to reality television screens in millions of homes, Alana Thompson became a household name before she could even drive a car. But what's happening right now goes far beyond anything we've seen before. This isn't another tabloid headline or manufactured drama for television. This is real. This is unprecedented. And the implications reach far beyond one young woman's personal journey. To understand the magnitude of what Alana is doing, we need to go back to where it all began. Picture a 6-year-old girl with blonde hair, a magnetic personality, and an unapologetic Southern charm that television executives couldn't resist. That little girl appeared on Toddlers and Tiaras and instantly became the breakout star of a show filled with extraordinary personalities. But what made Alana different wasn't just her catchphrases or her energy, it was something deeper, something that audiences connected with on a visceral level. The Thompson family lived in McIntyre, Georgia, a small town where everybody knew everybody. June Shannon, known to the world as Mama June, was raising 4 daughters in circumstances that were far from glamorous. Money was tight. Opportunities were limited. But when that little girl stepped onto those pageant stages, something magical happened. Not the kind of magic that pageant coaches try to manufacture, but genuine, unfiltered charisma that couldn't be taught or faked. When Here Comes Honey Boo Boo premiered on TLC in August of 2012, nobody could have predicted the cultural phenomenon it would become. The show pulled in over 2 million viewers for its premiere episode. This wasn't just good ratings. This was a cultural moment. People across America and around the world were suddenly invested in this family from rural Georgia. They watched as Alana practiced pageants, as the family played in mud pits, as they created their own entertainment in ways that didn't require money or fancy toys. But here's what most people don't realize about that time period. While America was laughing along with the family's antics and falling in love with Alana's personality, something else was happening behind the scenes. The money was flowing in. Lots of it. And for a child who had never experienced financial security, this should have been the beginning of a fairy tale. Instead, it became the foundation of what Alana is confronting today. The show was canceled abruptly in 2014, and the reasons why became tabloid fodder that overshadowed everything the family had built. June's personal life became a spectacle that made their reality show look tame by comparison. But through all of that chaos and public scrutiny, there was a child trying to navigate normalcy in the most abnormal circumstances imaginable. Alana was 8 years old when her show was canceled. 8 years old and already dealing with public scandal, media scrutiny, and a level of fame that most adults couldn't handle. What happened next is where the story gets complicated, and it's crucial to understand these details because they directly connect to what Alana is doing right now. After the show ended, there were attempts at comebacks, spin-offs, and various media appearances. Mama June's life spiraled in ways that were documented across multiple platforms. There was addiction, there were arrests, there were interventions. And through it all, Alana was still growing up, still trying to figure out who she was beyond the character the world had fallen in love with. The money that had been earned during those peak years should have secured Alana's future. We're talking about substantial earnings from a hit reality show, endorsements, appearances, and all the revenue streams that come with that level of fame. But here's where the story takes a turn that connects directly to what's happening in that courtroom. Where did that money go? Who controlled it? And what protections were in place for a child who had earned it, but had no legal authority to manage it? California has the Coogan Law, named after child actor Jackie Coogan, which requires that a portion of a child performer's earnings be set aside in a block trust account. It's a protection that exists because too many child stars have reached adulthood only to discover that the money they earned was gone, spent by the very people who were supposed to protect them. But here's the critical detail that many people don't know. The Thompsons didn't live in California, they lived in Georgia. And Georgia's protections for child performers are not as comprehensive. Jump forward to recent years, and Alana has been asking questions. She's been trying to understand exactly what happened to the money she earned as a child. She's been seeking answers about who made what decisions and why certain financial choices were made on her behalf when she had no say in the matter, and according to sources close to the situation. And we need to be clear that some of these details are based on reports that haven't been fully confirmed in court. The answers she's been getting haven't been satisfactory. This brings us to the move that's changing everything. Alana Thompson has initiated legal action that goes beyond just seeking financial records or asking for an accounting of past earnings. What she's doing is challenging the entire system that allowed her to be in this position in the first place. She's not just fighting for herself, she's potentially opening a door that could change how child performers are protected across states that don't have strong safeguards in place. The legal filing, and these are details that have been reported by entertainment news outlets who've seen the documents, reportedly seeks a full forensic accounting of all earnings from Alana's time as a minor in the entertainment industry. This includes her appearances on Toddlers and Tiaras, all 4 seasons of Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, the subsequent spin-off shows, any endorsement deals, appearance fees, and related income streams. We're potentially talking about millions of dollars that need to be traced and accounted for, but the filing reportedly goes further than just requesting information. According to legal experts who've reviewed similar cases, Alana's action appears to be structured in a way that could establish legal precedent for other young performers who find themselves in similar situations. This is where it becomes bigger than one person's story. If successful, this could provide a roadmap for other former child stars to seek accountability and potentially push for legislative changes in states that lack strong protections. The emotional weight of what this represents cannot be understated. Imagine being 21 years old and having to legally fight the people who raised you for access to money you earned before you were old enough to read a contract. Imagine having your childhood broadcast to millions, becoming famous before you understood what fame meant, and then discovering that the financial security you thought you had might not exist. That's the reality Alana is facing, and she's choosing to confront it head-on rather than walk away. People close to Alana, and again we're being careful to note these are second-hand accounts from those who claim to know the situation, say that this decision wasn't made impulsively. This has been years in the making. As Alana got older and started understanding finances, she began asking questions. She wanted to know about college funds, trust accounts, investments made on her behalf. The more questions she asked, according to these sources, the more concerning the answers became. There's another layer to this story that makes it even more complex. Mama June has had her own very public struggles that have been documented across multiple television shows. There have been arrests, addiction issues, and rehabilitation attempts all played out in the public eye. The question becomes, and this is something the legal process will need to untangle, were financial decisions made during periods when June was not in a position to be making sound judgments? Were there other people involved who should have been protecting Alana's interests? These are questions without easy answers. What makes Alana's move even more remarkable is the courage it requires to do this publicly. She could have tried to handle this privately, away from the cameras that have followed her since she was 6 years old. Instead, by taking legal action, she's knowing that this will become public, that it will be analyzed and discussed and debated across media platforms. She's choosing transparency over privacy, and that decision itself tells us something about who she's become. The response from the public has been fascinating to watch unfold. Social media has erupted with opinions from all sides. Some people are applauding Alana for standing up for herself and potentially for other child performers. Others are expressing concern about the family rift this creates and questioning whether legal action is the right approach. There are those who see this as a cautionary tale about child stardom, and others who view it as a young woman taking control of her narrative for the first time in her life. Industry experts are watching this case closely because it could have far-reaching implications. Attorney Mark Thompson, who specializes in entertainment law and has represented multiple child performers, spoke about cases like this in a recent interview. He pointed out that the patchwork of state laws protecting child performers creates situations where some kids are protected and others fall through the cracks. He noted that cases like Alana's, assuming the reported details are accurate, could provide the impetus for reform. But let's bring this back to the human element, because that's what often gets lost in legal discussions and industry analysis. This is about a young woman who spent her entire childhood working in an industry that profited enormously from her personality and presence. This is about a little girl who made people laugh, who became a cultural touchstone, who brought joy to millions of viewers. And now that little girl is a young woman asking a simple question: where did the money go? The relationship between Alana and her mother has been complicated for years, and much of that complication has played out publicly. There have been periods of estrangement, followed by attempted reconciliations, followed by new conflicts. Alana has been open in interviews about the difficulty of loving a parent, while also recognizing that certain situations were not healthy or acceptable. This legal action adds another layer to an already complex family dynamic. What's particularly interesting is how Alana has been building her own life separate from her childhood fame. She's attended college, she's been in a committed relationship, she's worked on her health and wellness in ways that she's shared selectively with her followers. She's been actively working to define herself as Alana Thompson, not just as Honey Boo Boo. This legal action feels like part of that larger journey of self-definition and autonomy. The timing of this move is also significant. At 21, Alana is legally an adult, but still young enough that the memories of her childhood in the spotlight are fresh and immediate. She's old enough to understand financial matters and legal rights, but she's also at a point in life where financial security would make an enormous difference in her ability to pursue education, career opportunities, or whatever path she chooses. The statute of limitations on various claims can vary, and waiting too long could potentially limit her legal options. From a broader perspective, this situation raises uncomfortable questions about the entertainment industry's relationship with child performers. We've seen similar stories play out over decades. From Jackie Coogan in the 1930s to various child stars in more recent years, the pattern repeats: child becomes famous, child earns money, child grows up to discover that money is gone or greatly diminished. Each time it happens, there's public outcry and calls for change. But meaningful reform has been inconsistent across jurisdictions. Alana's case is particularly compelling because she became famous in the reality television era, which operates under different rules than scripted entertainment. Reality show participants often have less protection than actors in traditional television or film. The contracts can be less standardized. The working conditions are different, and when the reality stars a child, the potential for exploitation increases significantly. This case could potentially shine a light on gaps in how reality television production companies, networks, and families handle child participants. There's speculation, and we want to be clear this is speculation based on industry knowledge rather than confirmed fact about this specific case, that the legal action might also examine whether proper contracts were in place, whether appropriate work permits were obtained, and whether production companies fulfilled their obligations regarding the welfare of a minor performer. These details matter because they could expand the scope of accountability beyond just family members, to include corporate entities that profited from Alana's participation. The emotional toll of this process on Alana shouldn't be underestimated. Taking legal action against family members is traumatic under any circumstances. Doing it while the entire world watches and comments adds a layer of difficulty that most people will never experience. Yet Alana appears to be moving forward with determination, which suggests she's found support systems and inner strength that are sustaining her through this challenging time. Looking at where we are right now, the legal process is in its early stages. Court proceedings take time, especially in complex cases involving multiple years of financial records and potentially multiple parties. There will be discovery, depositions, possible motions, and a long road before any resolution is reached. It's possible this could settle out of court, which is common in family legal disputes. It's also possible this could go to trial, which would make everything public record and subject to even more intense scrutiny. What happens next will depend on many factors, including what the financial records reveal, how various parties respond to the legal action, and what Alana's ultimate goals are beyond the immediate request for accounting. Is this purely about recovering money, or is there a larger purpose around advocacy and reform? Based on how Alana has conducted herself in recent years, it wouldn't be surprising if there's a bigger picture motivation beyond personal financial recovery. The ripple effects of this case are already being felt. Other former child reality stars have started speaking out about their own experiences with finances and control over their earnings. Conversations are happening in state legislatures about updating protections for child performers. Entertainment lawyers are advising clients to look more carefully at how minors are protected in reality television contracts. One legal action by one young woman is creating waves that extend far beyond her individual situation. This is also a story about resilience and self-advocacy. Alana Thompson could have accepted whatever financial situation she found herself in and moved forward without confrontation. Many people in similar situations do exactly that, deciding that the emotional cost of fighting isn't worth the potential financial recovery. But Alana is choosing a different path. She's choosing to stand up, to ask hard questions, and to demand accountability. That takes remarkable courage, especially for someone so young. The transformation from the 6-year-old on toddlers and tiaras to the 21-year-old taking legal action is striking. That little girl was being directed by others, performing for cameras, living a life that was controlled by the adults around her. This young woman is making her own decisions, using her voice in a different way, and asserting control over her own narrative and future. The contrast is powerful and represents a journey that goes far beyond financial matters. Whatever the outcome of this legal action, Alana Thompson has already changed the conversation. She's put a spotlight on issues that affect not just former child stars, but any young person whose earning power is controlled by others. She's demonstrated that being famous as a child doesn't mean accepting whatever circumstances you're left with as an adult. She's showing that it's possible to love your family while still holding them accountable, to honor your past while fighting for your future. The next chapters of this story will unfold in courtrooms and legal filings, but the larger narrative is about a young woman reclaiming her power and potentially creating change that will protect others. This is about justice, accountability, and the basic principle that people who work, even when they're children, deserve to benefit from that work. It's about closing loopholes that allow exploitation and creating systems that genuinely protect vulnerable young performers. Alana Thompson grew up in front of the world, and now the world is watching as she fights for something that should have been protected all along. Her next move hasn't just changed her trajectory, it's changing the conversation about child performers, family dynamics, and entertainment industry practices. Whatever happens in that courtroom, Honey Boo Boo is making sure her voice is finally heard on her own terms. If this story resonates with you, if you believe that child performers deserve protection and that families should be held accountable for managing a child's earnings responsibly, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video with someone who needs to hear Alana's story. Subscribe to stay updated as this legal battle unfolds, because this is far from over. And what happens next could change everything for young performers across the country. This is one of those moments where one person's courage could create lasting change. And we all have a stake in making sure children in the entertainment industry are protected. Alana Thompson is fighting not just for herself, but potentially for every child who comes after her. And that makes this a story worth following, worth discussing, and worth caring about.